Hello, my name is Jacqui Muller. I'm an application architect at Dimension Data. We've been using UiPath at the company internally for roughly just over 5 years now, and we have been a reseller of the product of UiPath to our clients for roughly 3 years now. Within our organization, UiPath has been deployed on our on-premise environment. So some of our use cases for UiPath range all the way from development to operational support, all the way through to business enablement. So our biggest focus internally is to enable business to do what they do best. So we generally provide solutions through the use of UiPath to cater for streams like, not limited to though, procure to pay, hire to retire, quote to cash, and so on. Some of the other use cases that we've also got, because our development team is rather small, we try to create as many reusable components and solutions on the UiPath platform that make our day-to-day jobs a lot easier as well. So some of the use cases, if I go into more detail, is building solutions that can heal themselves essentially. So we make sure that our operational team is aware as soon as something fails with the processes that we've built. And if one of the use cases or the failures have already been listed, we note the fix and try to implement that. If that doesn't work further, then we hand it off to a human to look at the task. In terms of business and some of the use cases we have in business, we do quite a lot of ERP automation. So we work with SAP quite a lot. We also have a lot of back-end data that we need to bring into and process as well. So we use our SQL databases and so on to perform tasks like, for example, allocating payments to bank accounts in our ERP system. I definitely say from a development point of view, one of the most important or most useful features in the deck is definitely some of the offerings that UiPath has in terms of UiPath Studio. So having the object repository available, having data services available, those kinds of components that make your solutions really reusable and decrease your development time so that you can go to market quicker for products that you're offering clients. That has been really useful in our landscape. I think UiPath have gone a very long way to make sure their tools are easy to use and the products that they have in their end-to-end hyper-automation lifecycle are, quickly or easily learnable and teachable to people that you work with. So if I look at some of the other technologies and tool stacks that we've used to do RPA or to do automation, we found that the adoption rate is a lot less because of the way that developers need to struggle in some cases to get through the learning and using of these tools. So what we found as well is UiPath, the academy courses that they provide, the help through the forum, those kinds of things have enabled us greatly to use the platform a lot easier. Compared to other vendors and other tool stacks, it is a lot easier to use as well. Okay, so if I look at the UiPath offering and I compare that to the Microsoft Power Platform, Microsoft's Power Platform has definitely come a long way and it has done a great job of, making its way into the market, but there are still key differences between the two platforms. So because Power Platform is still relatively new, the resources and the support is a little bit more tedious to get around than with UiPath. I found that the UiPath community, because of their extensive work that they've done within the community to build developers, you get a lot more support on the forums as well. In terms of usability on the systems or the platforms themselves, UiPath has been doing this for a lot longer, so their user interfaces and their all-round user-friendliness of their platform definitely shows in the time that they've spent working on the product. So it is tedious to say, it definitely depends on the use case. If I look at some of the things that Power Automate had offered before latest upgrades or updates in the UiPath offering, Power Automate was able to allow you to trigger processes completely differently to the way that UiPath does. UiPath has since taken a step up and released their integration services, which has helped bridge that gap quite a lot. And being able to link that to a process is a lot easier as well than it used to be. So if I compare scalability and us compare, development time and ease of use of the Power Platform to, UiPath specifically around the RPA components of the solutions, there definitely is a noticeable difference. UiPath has had a very interesting impact on our environment. We have found it quite difficult to find RPA developers within our country, specifically those who have the skills that we need to be able to do what we do. So we've had to rely on upskilling people as much as we possibly can to be able to deliver the solutions that we are delivering. And in doing so, the UiPath Academy has come in quite helpful and quite handy. Specifically because it's a lot easier to onboard a new employee, somebody who has less experience with UiPath, with the training that is free and easily available. If there are any issues or questions, the Academy team and the community is always around to support and answer any questions. UiPath has definitely helped us realize some of our full-time equivalent savings, so our FTE savings, with regards to some of the reusable components that we have and have placed specifically in business. So with the offerings that UiPath has, we're able to easily see, what our return on investment is, how we've structured and deployed our solutions, what we've deployed, how long it's been deployed for, and those kinds of things. So I think what has helped us the most from the UiPath perspective is they haven't just provided us with a tool set or with a range of products. UiPath has actually provided us with a framework and a hyper-automation lifecycle that we could use as a guideline throughout our own journey in automation. Definitely. So if we take a look at the last 6 months, we have about over 100 processes. I'd say probably about 105 processes that we have in production at the moment. And if we single out one specific process that we've been working on and has been in production for quite a while, and we measure that just over the last 6 months, we can see that we've saved roughly about 380 hours on the process, or we've saved 380 FTE hours, and that equates to roughly 77,000 Rand. So for us, that's been quite a big saving. If you take the time saved across our 100 plus processes, we're looking at about just over 2,000, closer to 2,100 hours that we've saved in the last 6 months, which has an economic value or a financial value of between 500,000 and 1 million Rand. UiPath definitely has assisted us in speeding up our digital transformation journey. We have been able to create a whole bunch of different components that we reuse throughout our solutions, which means that when we have great new ideas that we want to implement into our solutions, we've now found ways to do it in such a way that we spend less time trying to implement the fixes or the cool new enhancements and more time actually realizing the value thereof. In doing so, we've also seen a reduction in cost, and obviously we've had an increase in FTE savings. Within our space, UiPath definitely has reduced human error for us. So because a lot of our processes are quite focused within the financial space, and we do integrate with our ERP systems, we have seen the reduction of human error come into play. We've also seen that the provisions that are made for human error have also been reduced. UiPath has a wide range of features that they've brought into their ecosystem. And if I look at something quite specific to what we would like to see going forward, that would be the integration between data services and insights. So it is great that we're able to visualize our return on investment on insights. We can see a whole bunch of metrics there and how our processes are performing. But I think what would give us a lot more power is if we could link that to data services and actually pull through some custom information. I was not directly involved in the setup of the applications and the ecosystem, but from what I have been able to gather, we did have quite a lot of support from UiPath itself, and the setup was quite straightforward. It didn't take more than a few hours, about 4 hours maximum. I would definitely say that the UiPath technical support is quite proficient. They help us quite quickly. Their responses are always very directed to what the answers are that we're looking for. And if they don't know the answer or they can't assist us, they give us that feedback. They go ahead, they find the answers or make the changes that are needed, and then come back to us and provide feedback. We've really enjoyed working with the UiPath team quite closely throughout our partnership to be able to enable our journey further. It would definitely be a 10. In my opinion, I think that UiPath solutions are definitely very safe, stable. It is very easy for us to build quality solutions and put them into production and be able to trust the solution that we put into production. And I think for any automation center of excellence, that's quite important. You need to have a level of trust in your organization, inside of your environment, and inside of your solutions. So it also attributes to the quality of our developers. We do have quite strongly skilled developers, but without a product like UiPath, that stability would not be such a great factor if we had to go with a different approach or different tool set. Yes, definitely. So we've actually had quite a lot of experience trying to scale our solutions. So because of our automation journey, when we started out, we created processes that were very specific to the problems we were trying to solve, and they were actually quite static. So the processes we developed were aimed at addressing that problem specifically. And as time went on, we started changing our design thinking approach and our approach to designing and developing the solutions in such a fashion that we now try to create our solutions to be more dynamic. So because of the life expectancy of automations and specifically RPA, a lot of experts would say that you need to go back after 6 months or 12 months or 18 months and try to reevaluate your solution and see if it needs to be redeveloped. So what we've actually seen in our landscape is if we try to make our solutions more dynamic and actually cater for more than what we set out to cater for, having to enhance our solution later on takes a lot less development time. So scaling out the solution has become immensely useful, and it has become our way of work. So I'd say we roughly have about 100 people within our organization directly communicating with our UiPath environment, either through our robotic assistants or our bots, right down to the granular level of developing the solutions. So some of the roles include our developers, our operational support, and also our business users. As an organization, we did take Blue Prism, WorkFusion, Automation Anywhere, and those kinds of vendors and platforms into consideration when selecting our platform of choice when our Center of Excellence was formed. And the decision at that time and the stakeholders involved decided to go with UiPath, mostly because of what they had to offer and the consistency thereof. I definitely think in the RPA industry at the moment and automation in general, UiPath's pricing model is the most consistent. So if you're looking at year-on-year growth and you're looking at year-on-year pricing, or even if you're looking at, from solution to solution, each vendor has their own take on how they're going to generate profits and how they're going to expand their return on investment. And I think by far UiPath is the most consistent with their pricing. I think they set out, they make it quite clear what they set out to achieve with their pricing and with their product. And I think that's what makes their product so much easier to design for, because you don't need to change your pricing and go back to the client every time you introduce a new aspect into the solution. So if I did have any advice or extra information that I could give surrounding the UiPath product, I think that one of its strengths is that you know upfront what everything is going to cost. The advice that I have to customers who are looking to start off their automation journey or essentially take on a new vendor, maybe somebody like UiPath, I would definitely say one of the challenges for us was getting our governance and standards right. As soon as we got that right and we fixed our design thinking approach and we realized how we could make sure our solutions were scalable, we started seeing a higher return on investment. So my advice would be to focus on the small things. Make sure that you understand your processes. Make sure you understand what problems you're trying to achieve, and kind of start with the beginning and end in mind. So know where you want to end up and see how you're going to break your solution up into phases to be able to get there. I'd rate the UiPath platform a 10. I think what's quite impressive about UiPath is that they followed the same trend of having 2 major releases a year. I think those are the 2 most anticipated events that we have within our team as well, because we have a roadmap, we know more or less what UiPath is planning and what they're hoping to do. Our partnership enables us to have a closer view at that information. Also, the UiPath Insider program allows us to see some of the previewed items as well. So I think for those who aren't quite sure where they want to go just yet, keep an eye on the forums, keep an eye on blog posts, keep an eye on UiPath in general. Look at their major releases before making any huge decisions. UiPath has a track record of consistency, and they've got some great reviews and some great implementations that I think we could really all learn from.